Here's what's coming into view on Elevating Denver for May 2023. We sit down with Dr. Juana Bordas.
And now the challenge is how do we create an equitable society?
Make beautiful music with the team at Levitt Pavilion.
Levitt Pavilion Denver is a gorgeous outdoor amphitheater that operates in the summertime to bring the people of Colorado free music.
And experts on conservation share responsible water habits.
What it's going to be like living in Colorado, particularly with less water.
These stories and more are just ahead on Elevating Denver. On April 27, 2023, assessors from surrounding counties held a press conference to announce the 2023 property valuations.
Today, my colleagues from Adams, Arapahoe, Boulder, Broomfield, Douglas, Elbert, Larimer, and Jefferson counties are here with me today to announce the results of this 2023 revaluation process.
Homeowners received letters from the assessor and are seeing some big numbers. Denver saw a 33% median increase in home values from July 2020 to June 2022.
What we're really trying to do is take properties that have sold and say, well, based on these properties that have sold, what would be the value of all the properties that hadn't sold based on that information? And that's really what appraisal is all about. It's using what's known to predict maybe what's not known.
Compounding the problem is the 2020 voter-approved repeal of a state constitutional amendment that would have automatically reduced reassessed values in order to better fund local services and help businesses paying sky-high property taxes.
And if you look at the past couple of years where we've seen pricing go up, interest rates go up, homeowners insurance skyrocket, and you look at what our mortgage payments are composed of, those four things, including taxes, now we are attacking the fourth aspect of the principal, interest, insurance, and taxes.
Regardless of what that final assessment property tax value might be, there are ways to appeal and apply for assistance.
At the Division of Property Taxation website, we have brochures that explain every property tax relief opportunity there is for seniors, for people of low income, for all of the exemptions that exist through property tax relief.
Denver City Council heard from Margaret Danhauser, Denver's Chief Financial Officer, at the Finance and Governance Committee, as she discussed options from state and city departments to find relief.
And there are a number of programs that we've listed out here that can help homeowners and renters with their property tax needs.
Denver's Department of Housing Stability took time to speak to steps residents can take to find additional help.
Much of our work within the housing stability pillar is focused on renters. So we work with nonprofit organizations who provide rent and utility assistance, free eviction legal services, as well as tenant landlord counseling and other programs. We also have programs and resources available for homeowners. So those include utility assistance for homeowners who may be behind on their utility bills or Denver water bills. We also provide foreclosure counseling for homeowners who are facing foreclosure. We offer homeownership counseling for residents who are interested in purchasing a home. We have a home repair program for homeowners, as well as an accessibility modification program for homeowners and renters who are living with a disability. So you can find more information about all of these programs and many more at denvergov.org/housing or by calling us at 720-913-1534.
Property owners have until June 8th to file an appeal, which people can do online, by mail, or in person.
There's often things about the property we don't know. We can't get to all 240,000 properties. So if they have a reaction such as that, contact us, appeal the property. There's instructions on the notice on different methods they can choose to collaborate with us in that.
Colorado residents can apply to defer property tax payments through the Property Tax Deferral Program.
Individuals that are maybe struggling with property taxes and in particular might not anticipate holding onto their property for that much longer, that might be a really good option for them to defer property taxes until such time as they decide to sell their property.
The application window for the senior property tax exemption ranges from January 2nd to July 15th. People who have previously gotten approved do not need to reapply, but they must report changes in ownership or occupancy. This program is statewide, has additional requirements, and all residents must apply locally.
We'd invite people to look at comparables that they get or know of. We'd invite folks to look at or consider the condition of their property and certainly review the characteristics.
In the meantime, the state legislature is considering a bill allowing local governments to temporarily lower property taxes, which voters may be asked to approve in November. Should the proposal pass, then Colorado property tax estimates property owners recently began receiving in the mail would essentially be inaccurate. The tax burden would be greatly reduced under the new plan.
And if the state lawmakers don't act immediately on this, then it will be a crisis, in my opinion.
Levitt Pavilion Denver is a gorgeous outdoor amphitheater that operates in the summertime to bring the people of Colorado free music and concerts that will change their life forever. We offer a full season of free concerts that have a range of different genres, so any kind of music lover will find a place to go and enjoy their day at Levitt Pavilion.
Well, Levitt at its core, its mission is providing access to the arts. We do that by putting on free concerts, and that's not only unique to Levitt Denver. There are other Levitts around the country. All of us program free music, so as a network, we're the largest provider of free music in the country.
We operate with the best interests of our community in mind, but we also are serving the people of Colorado who make this possible. Individual donors and members make up a huge part of the contributions that make a free series possible. Because when we talk about putting on free concerts, it's free for the attendees. It costs us a good bit of money because we pay every single person who plays on this stage. We actually pay our local artists more than they can expect at other stages. And we think that's really important to the sustainability of our music scene. So we are putting costs into making these shows possible as a reinvestment in our music community.
In addition to the great programming we have some new leadership in place. So we hired a new executive director named Megan McNamara.
Levitt is the epitome of what accessible free music can and should look like. I think there are so many instances where the arts, which I believe are incredibly valuable and relevant to everyone, are locked behind closed doors. They're in spaces that can feel intimidating. There are economic barriers, social barriers, so many reasons why people might feel that the arts are not for them. And by putting live music in an open public space like this with a green lawn where families and people of all ages can be together and experience live music together, you're creating a space where people can really feel that there's something for them here. And building cultural infrastructure in public spaces like Ruby Hill Park is a really critical piece of making that possible.
When you're thinking about the type of people you want at your show, the reason why we program diverse programming is because we want people of all walks of life to come. So not only is it there's economic barriers, sometimes there's just, there's genre barriers. We have to make sure that there's a bunch of different music for a bunch of different populations. And in that as well, when you're putting on different types of music, you want to program it with the community in mind. So that's working with different programming partners who know that community. You have to establish trust.
When you look at a stage and you see who's on that stage, it really matters. Representation matters. If you see someone on stage who looks like you know that that is a pathway. You could become a musician or you're welcome in that space. So Levitt really works to make sure that people know, all kinds of people know, that they are welcome in this space by making our stage look like the citizens of Colorado. With our booking, with the staff that we have on site, we really try to represent that so that people know that this is really for them. It's free because we want everyone in the community to find a space where they feel belonging. Having an all-ages venue is really essential to the health of our community. I started seeing live music when I was a kid, and I don't know who I would be without it. Having an outdoor setting where people can find space that works for them, neurodivergent music lovers can actually find some comfort in their listening experience, and families can come and enjoy in this multi-generational experience where we've had people see their very first show here at less than 1 year old. And that's the value of being a member-supported, donor-supported, nonprofit organization is we can serve to make these special experiences available to people because we're all buying into this mission of creating community through music.
We have a great season ahead at Levitt in 2023. There is truly something for everyone here. Music of all genres, artists of all generations and walks of life, different formats, different times of day, days of the week, opportunities for people to experience the arts for whatever draws them in. There's a unique value to Levitt, to having this free concert model, 40 free shows a year, and we want that to be possible for many decades to come. So what we'll be focusing on as we get through this season and think to the years ahead is how we make sure that Levitt can continue to build community through music and to transform people's lives through the arts.
With every season, we come to our audience and to our community more intentional about how we're going to serve them and their concert experience. Because as a lifelong concert goer, I understand what I'm looking for and those magic moments that you can tap into, and seeing a concert can be something that you take with you for the rest of your life. Those are some of the most incredible experiences you can share, not only on your own as a solo concert goer, you are with your people in that space. So there's something that is essential to feeling connected or tapped into the fabric of your community in a concert.
Such a good environment for families, for people on dates, for kind of people from all walks of life. And we want people to know about Southwest Denver. We want people to know about Levitt. We want this to be kind of top of people's minds when they're planning an evening out. We want to be the premier venue in Denver.
I was standing at the counter and everything started just becoming kind of a stop motion, like this sequence of just still frames. And I looked down at the countertop and I reached over and tried to pick up these keys. And I just was fumbling and about 6 inches off, and I thought to myself, something's not right. I looked up and my tongue felt swollen, and I tried to just mumble out, something's happening to me, and my wife kind of just turned this awful shade of white and just said, get in the car. Of all the things that I would have been worried about at that time in my life, stroke was not even on the radar. I was always a doodler in school and always kind of a creative edge, I guess. You know, I definitely was always thinking outside the box and enjoyed art class. And it's funny, during college, I was a business major, a finance major, and I ended up working, kind of keeping my creative juices going. I was working for a silkscreen company in Seattle. And I started just getting into ink and watercolor, and I started kind of creating this relatively unique style. And in '98, I moved back to Colorado, and I just started bringing my stuff all over town and kind of showing anywhere I could in cafes and coffee shops. And I started doing well with it. At that time, 26, 27, the illustration stuff that I was working on really started kind of ramping up too. So I was having a lot of things in motion. And then at 31 was when I had my stroke. It was a venal thrombosis in the sagittal sinus, which is up in this area. And so it was affecting my right side. So I had paralysis through my right side and arm. I couldn't do much with my arm, and I could feel it all the way down to my hip. That night, I was in the neuro ICU and I had a grand mal seizure. I just started like hitting myself uncontrollably, and I pressed the call button and I just yelled at my wife, just like, Allison. I think the harder thing career-wise was just, you don't have a safety net. When you're working for yourself, it's sort of like you don't immediately know where to turn. Initially, I think you're obviously most worried about just surviving the next day, and then, you know, it's sort of like you start to get a bit more of a bigger picture of just saying, what is life gonna look like down the road, and am I gonna heal immediately? Am I going to be better tomorrow? Am I going to be better a week, a month? And so it was eye-opening. After another 24 or 48 hours, I was released to the regular hospital and ended up there, I think, for 7 or 8 days. I didn't find out until months later that my prognosis was a little bleaker than they let on. They gave me about a 5% chance of ever using my arm again. I think that the hardest part about it is, for the first couple years, it was on the forefront of my mind for every moment of the day. Am I going to have a stroke today? Am I going to have a seizure? Are you worried about driving? Are you worried about having kids and doing, moving on with your life? And it's constant. I think that the journey from there to now there were a lot of steps and phases that you go through. It took me probably 2 years before I was feeling comfortable painting again. And then from there, I guess it was about 2 to 3 years before I painted anything meaningful. And I remember the first painting I was commissioned by a gallery in California that I had been in touch with. I just poured myself into this thing. I just obsessed over it. It was brutal, partly because I think I was overcompensating for what I wanted it to be and how perfect I wanted it to be, and the outcome, it was such a statement on getting back. That was the first time that I really had to step into, okay, I can paint again. Space Gallery, it is a really important step. This show at Space Gallery was by far my biggest show that I've had as an individual show. And so to come kind of full circle and actually be able to show my work in that space was 20 years in the making. Personally, looking back on it, I had had my stroke, we had had 4 kids, and in the matter of about 10 years, and my life was just this giant roller coaster. And I think that it didn't dawn on me until I was painting my second or third roller coaster. It's like, it was literally kind of painting a metaphor of my own life. Reality is, with stroke, there's no 100% to get back to. Your body's different, you're physically different, you're mentally different, you're emotionally different. At some point, you just start putting together the best version of yourself that you can every day and move forward. I'm blessed and grateful for each day I get to paint and each day that I get to play with my kids and throw the baseball and do things that I wouldn't have been able to do had I not kind of had the dedication to try to recover it the way I did.
What is it that Latinos are going to contribute to Colorado? And so I really want people to be thinking about that, how we are the past, because we were the ones that settled this state first. But what is it we're going to do in the future? And how can everybody be part of that? Because as a culture and not a race, we have a bienvenido, inclusive spirit, and we want people to join with us. We are a mixed community, and we offer people the opportunity to really tap into that new diversity and inclusion that their grandchildren and children are going to be part of, and that's happening right now. Hi, I'm Juana Bordas, and I've lived in Denver many, many years. And I am currently the author of The Power of Latino Leadership Ahora, which means now. And I have dedicated my professional and personal career to working with women and the Latino community and to advancing a more humane and people-centered society. 47% of Latinos are still working class. They still make under the minimum wage. And so because 40% of the Latino community are immigrants, there's this whole feeling that if we can get educated, if we can help our children become professionals, then we'll be able to lift up the whole community. And so education was really important to my parents. I'm not sure they knew I was going to keep going and become Dr. Bordas, because they probably didn't even imagine that, right? But it's like once you step on that path and once you begin to educate yourself, the doors are open for you and you're able to do more and more and learn more and more. But I also think the purpose of life is growth, learning, and advancement, that human beings really thrive when they're developing themselves and expanding themselves and tapping into their own power and efficacy. I became a community activist when I went to the University of Florida. It's the 60s. I never meet another Latina. I never meet another Latino. The whole university is very white, and I'm trying to maneuver and learn how to get through that. And I'm sitting at my dorm, and I see my political science professor with a group of people, and they were walking and marching towards the administration building. So I ran up and I said, well, what are you doing? And he said, we're marching to integrate the University of Florida. And I think one of the most blessed parts of my life is that I've been able to see these changes in America, from going to a university that was segregated, marching to integrate the University of Florida, and then seeing 2 African Americans come on the campus my senior year. And so I've been able to see this and be part of this change in America. And now the challenge is how do we create an equitable society? The way I got into leadership, I think, is interesting. So I'm sitting at Mi Casa Women's Center, or Mi Casa Center now. It's the largest Hispanic serving organization in the state. It was built over 40 years, so I was very fortunate to be here at the very beginning. I could be here for 10 years, women would still be looking for jobs. They'd still need a GED, they'd still need to improve their English. The high school kids that come here will still need to be helped to finish high school. And I was thinking to myself, what's going to change that? And I thought, it's leadership. Because when you become a leader, you can deal with the issues that create inequity. When you become a leader, you can work in civic change. You can elect people to office that care more about people than their own advancement. That's what leadership is about. Whether you're in an organization, or you're in school, or you're in a business, you need to take care of people so that they can then do their best work. And so when I went to develop curriculums and work with people that were Latinos around leadership, there was nothing that said, here's how Latinos lead. Here's how Latinos made it through 500 years of being called minorities, being called marginalized, working in the hard jobs, being discriminated against, being the essential workers, not getting the educational opportunities they needed to advance. And so that's how I got into writing, looking at the convergence of leadership between Latinos, African Americans, and American Indians. How did we get here is the question. Under such dire circumstances, under having to get people motivated to work for social change and to be civically engaged when they were working class, when they didn't have resources, when they knew they would never see the kind of society they wanted in their own lifetimes. How did our leaders inspire people to do that? Decade after decade, century after century, we had to have some good leadership. Me as an elder in my community, I'm able to share my perspective, my experience, and my knowledge with younger people so they understand that it's a step by step. We call it paso a paso, step by step, we'll get there. But you have to work together, and you have to have that vision of what's coming in the future so that you can really work towards that.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 43rd Get Wet Water Garden Society kickoff. And what we're doing here tonight is having a presentation with a diverse segment of professionals and experts in various fields with respect to water, water resilience, water sustainability.
Water conservation has always been a hot button issue, particularly here in Colorado. Now more than ever, as we've seen drought becoming more and more prevalent and maybe not as cyclical as it used to be, it's something that I think we all need to really strongly consider what it's going to be like living in Colorado, particularly with less water.
All of our panel members, we all share this passion for water conservation, and each panelist will bring a unique perspective on all the issues.
And we're noticing now, as we are standing up this landscape transformation program, as we look around our service area, that maybe it's time for kind of a collective shift in our mindsets on what our landscape should look like.
We are in the arid West, and I think a lot of the plants that were selected for this city, for the state, were intended for eastern landscapes, for more moist environment. And this is a harsh environment to exist in, and unfortunately, Kentucky bluegrass does not belong here. It's really water thirsty, and with what's going on with the Colorado River, Lake Mead and Lake Powell being the lowest they've ever been, we all need to chip in and do our fair share to lower our water usage. And dumping one of our most valuable resources on Kentucky bluegrass isn't really in alignment with that goal.
When people talk about landscape transformation, they're talking about reducing the amount of non-functional turf, which is stuff like bluegrass that requires a lot of watering. I've put a pond in my backyard, and my water bill is ridiculously low compared to what it used to be when I was maintaining grass. There's so much more benefit I find to having a pond. It attracts wildlife, it attracts birds, pollinates bees. That's almost the first thing that comes to my pond in the spring.
We do see a lot of people, it's like in their mind, the landscape is something that goes in when the house is built. It's a big rectangle, maybe rock around it, maybe mulch or whatever, and that's it. But there's so many more options and so many more attractive ways to do your yard, with native plants, with a water feature, with all that combined, and it kind of all flows together versus just kind of have that boring piece of turf that takes a lot of water to maintain.
Something that homeowners can do that's really beneficial in decreasing outdoor water use is considering transitioning their landscapes. And one of the easiest things that you can do, and maybe the first step you would consider, is renting a sod cutter to remove turf from your own property and then planting water-wise gardens in place of that water-thirsty turf grass. We currently offer efficiency programs and conservation programs through rebates for our residential customers, so giving them the opportunity to get a little money back when they invest in efficient fixtures, irrigation spray heads. We also partner with Resource Central for their Garden in a Box program, as well as their Slow the Flow program.
I think people have a lot of opportunities and choices, in what they can do. I mean, I've thought about this so much more in putting this panel together in terms of what can one person do? And the more you know, the more likely people are wanting to go ahead and do something that's making a huge difference.
You hear a lot of people pointing to the ag industry or Southern California, but we're benefiting from those industries. We're getting food from those industries, and the food grown in Southern California is going all over the world. So I would just say we need to quit pointing fingers at each other and do the right thing and do our fair share. And even if it is a little bit, even if it's just adjusting your sprinkler heads, maybe it's not getting rid of all of your grass. Maybe you've got kids or a dog and that really is useful for you, but maybe it's more indoor water use for you. So we can find ways to be efficient that work for each individual. And I think just trying to do what you can and working collaboratively is how we'll be successful in the future.
If we could look at water and how we use it as not just some expendable resource, and people talk about natural resources and you think about, gold and mining, etc., and water is just, it's a treasure, but we need to take care of it and we need to think about it differently.
Stay elevated by subscribing to the city's YouTube page for these stories and more. And stay tuned to our social media channels for more content. Don't miss our new episodes of Elevating Denver, premiering each month. Thanks for watching, Denver.